Hello and welcome to another edition of Go Pound Salt's Cooking with Saltware. This evening we're actually bringing the saltware indoors and we're going to show you saltwared salmon, wild king salmon, brought to us from Davy Jones Seafood. And we're going to put that in a bow tie pasta with a lemon, caper, dill, cream sauce. So that sound of sizzling that you hear is actually our bacon that's currently being rendered down. Nothing better than beginning a meal with a little rendered bacon. So we're going to let that sizzle and fry. We're going to let all the fat get nice and crispy. Then we're going to build our lemon caper cream sauce, and we're going to toss that and the salmon that we do on our salt block into the bow tie pasta. So that's what we have to look forward to. Hold on to your hats, ladies and gentlemen. So our bacon has finished rendering. We'll throw that back into the pan in a few minutes. For right now, we're going to go ahead and deglaze the pan with just a little bit of white wine. You want to pull all the bacony goodness off. We've got just a little bit of oil left in the pan, so now we're going to use a little bit of green garlic. It's a little bit more mild than regular garlic. It provides a nice subtle flavor, perfect for fish and seafood. We're going to let that go ahead and cook down for just a couple of minutes. Now that the pan has cooled a little bit, we're going to throw just a little bit more white wine in here. Let it give those garlics a little bit of love. And as everything continues to cook, turn the heat up just a little bit. This entire dish comes together fairly quickly at this point, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to throw the pasta into the pot as well. We're going to add to the garlic some green onion. I'm going to let that cook for just about 30 seconds or so. I'm going to put just a little bit of bacon grease back in there. Not a lot, just a tablespoon or two. Because as everything cooks, it gets happy. We're then going to throw the spinach in. We want it to wilt down. So we put the spinach in the pan, put a lid over the top just to let it steam and wilt very quickly. So as always, we start with putting the salmon flesh side down. We want to get a quick sear on the flesh side. You can hear that sizzling. You're going to leave those like that for probably about a minute, minute and a half. The block is not quite as warm. We'll zoom out for just a moment here. As you can see, we've added a pan underneath the block. This is really nice if you're going to be doing any type of indoor cooking. Ours is actually a flat iron griddle, cast iron, flat iron griddle. It holds the 8x16 block very nicely, and that will prevent any spillovers or any moisture that might come off of the fish from getting down into the burner and making an absolute mess of the stove and making cleanup more difficult later, because you probably don't have anybody else at home that does the cleanup behind you. Come back over here to our spinach, and you can see that it's started to wilt down nicely. So we're going to go ahead and toss it a little bit. The onions and the garlic are cooking underneath all of that quite nicely. We have rough chopped our spinach. Our spinach and our garlic are courtesy of Desert Roots. They are a local CSA. CSA stands for Community Supported Agriculture. If you have one of those in your area, really nice way to get local vegetables that are seasonally grown. So not only are you supporting local, but you have the benefit of really being able to enjoy things that grow in your area. So we're going to put the pan back on top of that for just a minute. Let that continue to steam down. Come back over here and check on our salmon. Salmon's doing well. It's going to continue to cook just like that because we want to get a decent sear on the flesh side before we go ahead and flip it over. Our pasta is coming along nicely as well. So the goal is to try to make sure that everything gets finished at the same time, and make sure that when it does all come together, nothing has had to sit too long waiting for the other before the entire thing is put together. If your block is hot enough, you're always going to have a nice sear on the flesh that allows you to get it off of the block and flip it over. So you can see we have just that. Absolutely gorgeous little piece here. We're going to go ahead and try that, see how it is. Deliciously fresh. That one didn't quite stay long enough. Block wasn't quite hot enough, but that's okay because everything for this particular meal, the salmon basically gets forked apart anyway and tossed in with the pasta. So we're not looking for beautiful presentation of fillets in this meal. Going to come back to our spinach now. We're going to check and see how that's doing. Nice and wilty. Everything's cooking well. We're going to give it just a little bit of help. We're going to throw in just a little bit more white wine. I'm going to let that steam off. Whenever you cook with alcohol, you always want to make sure that you cook it at a high enough heat and for a long enough period of time that the alcohol evaporates out and all you're left with is the flavor profile of whatever alcohol it is you're using. So that looks like it's pretty close to ready. We're going to go ahead and add to it our sun-dried tomatoes. In this case, we used sun-dried tomatoes that had been packed in olive oil, and our kalamata olives. So we'll throw those all in the pan together. When you toss it all together, it looks something like that. Now it's time to build our cream sauce. So we're going to start. Got a little bit of a thick base there with the white wine. We're going to start with a little bit of half and half, about a cup and a half. Going to add to that, actually that was heavy whipping cream. We're going to add to that some half and half, a little bit lighter. Total volume of half and half is going to be in the neighborhood of about 2 more cups. So you're going to have a total of about 3.5 cups of dairy product. If you can't eat dairy, you have our sincerest apologies. You're going to leave this just like this. Let this cook down a little bit. We want this to reduce down. Not too much, because the trick to pastas is to cook the pasta to a nice al dente and then toss the pasta in with the sauce and allow the pasta to finish cooking in the sauce. So the pasta actually absorbs a little bit of the flavor from the sauce, finishes cooking to the perfect texture, and that allows the starches from the pasta to thicken the sauce up as well. So our cream sauce is essentially done. It's reduced down to where we want it to be. So now we'll add our capers, our dill, and a little bit of lemon juice. We're going to use about a half a lemon. Just want to make sure we don't get any seeds in there. Good to make sure you wash your hands before you do this, obviously. Toss in our capers. And our fresh chopped dill. Whenever you use fresh herbs, you always want to make sure that you add those last, because you want to preserve the flavors of those fresh chopped herbs as much as possible. If you put them in early on, all of that flavor will be lost. So we've turned our sauce down to low. We're going to let that simmer for just a few more minutes while the salmon finishes cooking, the pasta finishes cooking. The whole thing is about 4 to 5 minutes out. But for you guys in video land, we'll be done in about 35-40 seconds. So at this point, everything is really close, so we want to toss in just a little bit of salt. We're going to use celery for this. It won't take much. We don't want it to be too salty. The capers and the kalamata olives already add enough, almost enough salt. We want to use just a little bit of the celery because the mineral content will help accentuate the flavor of the herbs, as well as the spinach and the white wine, the lemon juice, everything that's in there. So as you can see, our salmon has finished cooking. We've pulled it off of the block. You can see the skin that we left there on the block as we pulled it off of the salmon. Our caper dill cream sauce has also finished cooking as well. Our pasta has been drained but not rinsed. So we're going to show you a quick trick now for how you actually handle this. We're going to move our sauce off to the side. Put the pasta back in the pot that you used to cook it. Go ahead and take the sauce and pour it directly over the pasta. Everything is still very hot. Make sure you don't leave too many good chunks behind of that caper dill cream sauce. So we've put the pasta and the sauce and the salmon all together. We're going to let everything get happy in there. We're going to stir it all up, make sure it's all good there together. Wanted you to give you a shot of what's going on inside the pot. And don't forget that bacon that we started with. We add that at the very last because we want to make sure that that nice crispy texture that we worked to get is preserved as much as possible. So we stir that in. As we're doing so, we want to take a moment to thank Davy Jones Seafood for providing the salmon for this video, as well as Desert Roots CSA for the mild green garlic, and as well as the fresh dill. It's always nice to have local purveyors and providers of goods that you just really can't get anywhere else. And so we appreciate their contributions to this evening's effort, and we thank you for joining us here at Go Pound Salt. Remember, when you do, happiness is just a lick away.